Hello, hello. This is Jennifer, and we're going to jump in and get started here right away. I met Jennifer. When did I meet you? Did I meet you at Aesthetic Next? Yeah, we met at Aesthetic Next. And of course, she's been in the industry forever. She has a great history. I'm super proud to have her on so we can pick her brain and talk more about all things. So Jennifer, I'm going to let you kind of do your introduction of you and how you came to be where you are, and then we'll go from there.
Sounds awesome. And thank you so much for having me on. I'm so excited for this. And Abby, I'm so excited for your new adventure, Sky. I think you guys are just going to take the aesthetics world by storm. So I'm excited for you guys for sure. So my background, I always say that I've been in aesthetics now for 20 years, which is a little scary. So I always say that I started in aesthetics before Botox was a verb. When people didn't say I got Botoxed. And so I actually started with Allergan back in 2006. So I launched Juvederm Ultra and Ultra Plus. I love aging myself. So Ultra and Ultra Plus, Latisse, all of those products that Allergan had back in the day. And then I switched from Allergan. It was a great company, but I wanted something a little bit more, I wanted growth opportunities, quite frankly. So I moved over to MERS, and I was with MERS for quite some time. Started in professional relations, working with the key opinion leader community, then moved into Bellatero marketing, and I actually ran the Bellatero marketing program for a couple of years. And then my last role there was the national sales director for the injectable team. So Xeomin, Bellatero, Radies were my babies, and I had a team of about 110. And I know it's grown so much more now, and it's in such a different place than it was when I was there, but it was a really amazing experience. And then most recently, before I went into Regenerative, I spent 5 years actually building out the plans and the strategy, and as well as the team for Quo, which was Endo Aesthetics. And so I won't spend much time on that, but it was a phenomenal 5 years that I really, started before the phase 3 clinical trials and all the way through, unfortunately, until we sunsetted the product due to some unfortunate bruising side effects that wouldn't go away. And so, but it was a phenomenal experience. And then about a year ago, a friend of mine called me up and said, hey, I'm launching a new PRP tube, and he had been in PRP really from the beginning, and he asked if I wanted to help him launch it. And so I had never been in regenerative before. I've spent the majority of my career in injectables, and I was like, yeah, this is great. And just the opportunity to get into regenerative medicine, I know, even a year ago, it was starting to get hot, and now it just seems to be just exploding and blowing up. And so timing wise, it was great. And then I just really dug in, and I did everything I could to learn everything about the business and learn about PRP, because quite frankly, I didn't really understand it fully until I got into this business. And so it was really eye-opening, and in terms of the PRP actually being on the market for so long, especially in aesthetics, but I don't know how much the consumer really understands it. And also a lot of the providers don't totally understand it. And so there's a lot of education. So I'm really passionate about it, having a great time so far, and we're doing great.
Well, Sue, let's break that down a little bit. Let's just talk about PRP. What is it? How is it used? Because, you hear words like biofiller, and you hear all of these other things that try to, market a client into getting it. But let's talk specifically, what is it, and how could you best describe that it could be useful in your practice if you're not currently using it?
Absolutely. So PRP is really, there's 3 ways that you can process blood right now. The first is PRP, where you add an anticoagulant. So the difference between PRP and PRF is that there is an anticoagulant. And so in our tube, we have sodium citrate, which is just a little bit of anticoagulant that keeps it in a liquid form. And what that means is that we are not activating the platelets before they're injected in an Illuminate PRP tube if you're using it just as it is. In a PRF tube, which by the way are not FDA cleared, those tubes, they don't have anything in them. So what you're doing is you're collecting blood, and then you are spinning it down, and then it is is going to separate because of the density between the red blood cells, the platelets, and and other things in the blood. But it's a little bit more challenging sometimes because you aren't separating out all of the red blood cells. Oftentimes, you're also not getting out all the white blood cells, which are inflammatory. So red blood cells are acidic and painful. White blood cells are inflammatory. So that's the reason why in PRP, there have been gel separator tubes like ours, Illuminate PRP, that have been developed, because our gel separator actually separates out pretty much 100% of the red blood cells, while also separating in a positive way over 90% of the platelets out of the whole blood. With the PRF tubes, you really don't have an understanding or a knowledge of what sort of yield you're getting with that. So I say those two things. So you've got PRP, PRF, and then you can take it all the way to what is perceived as a filler by heating up the platelet pore plasma in a PRP tube. And so you have the ability with our tube to take it from liquid PRP, where oftentimes people are using it for, choosing to use it for hair restoration, microneedling. Sometimes they inject it under the eyes. Sometimes they inject it in the face, in the neck, for regeneration in the hands.
Yes. Love the hands for the aging. Yep, that's me.
Oh, I can't wait to show. I've got a couple pictures. I've got a hand picture I want to show you with the actual filler side of things. That is really cool. So you can also, with a PRP tube, and our tube especially too, you can add a little calcium chloride to it. And so what the calcium chloride does, it counteracts the anticoagulant in the tube and actually activates the platelets before you inject them, and meaning that it's starting that clotting mechanism. All it means by activating is that you're actually instigating that clotting mechanism. And so when you're doing that, there's this theory, and there have been some studies that are very inconclusive, by the way, of some people think that PRF in that activated state is going to keep the PRP there longer, and it's going to work better.
Yeah, honestly, I've always heard that, not to interrupt, but I've always heard it's like 1.0 versus 2.0. You know, it's like the Apple 5 versus the Apple 17, like is the PRF and PRP. That's kind of how I've always heard people talk about it.
Yeah, and it's that they talk about it, but because what's interesting in PRP is nothing is FDA approved. And so you don't have companies that are actually doing head-to-head studies. And so when studies have been done, the studies that I've seen have been very inconclusive. Like there was one PRP versus PRF that at one time point in the crow's feet, PRF was better for a minute. And so, but everything else, there was no statistical difference between PRP and PRF. But if people feel really passionate about PRF, then guess what? You can turn Illuminate into PRF by adding calcium, and that activates the platelets. And you know what percentage of platelets you're getting out of the whole blood. In our studies, we were able to get over 90% out of the whole blood into our PRP, which is actually, I think it's one of the highest on the market, if it's not the highest on. Now, the final place that you can take this, spin is actually pulling off the platelet pore plasma and heating that for about 10 minutes. And then you cool it down, and then you homogenize it with the actual concentrated PRP at the bottom of the tube. And you inject that similarly to a filler. Coming from the filler world, I'm very, very careful not to say it's a filler. Right. But it does give
biofiller. It's a,
biofiller. But it's not cross-linked. So at the end of the day, the goal of it is really the biostimulatory. So while you get some filling effect out of the gates, what you're going to see is that's going to go down. And it's almost like the gel carrier of CAHA of Radius. That gel carrier is gone within 6 weeks. So it's kind of a similar situation, is that the goal of the biofiller, we call it a biomatrix gel. The goal of it is to keep that PRP in place for a much longer period of time so it can work its magic. So that's really the whole goal of it. So if you're okay, can I show a couple of things for you guys?
I'd love to. Jennifer, I'm going to show a couple things, okay? Jennifer, while she's doing that, how much do you think you and Lacey do in PRP, like treatments, like in a month?
I don't even know the last time we did one.
Yeah, well, this would be so good since we're adding the entire wellness piece to it. This is 100% something that it's gonna, and I'm sure Jennifer can speak to revenue and incorporation here at the end, but We're launching this with a couple of my other practices right now, so really excited to jump into what all we can do.
Yeah, there's a ton of flexibility with it. That's the nice thing. So the reason why patients are so excited about this is because they're using their own biology. Even just this week, I've done multiple demos with accounts, and all of the patients have been like, I just like the fact that this is my own stuff.
Right.
And that's quite frankly what they like. And so, and it's a really interesting conversation to have with them, and just talking about, what it is and all of that. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. I do want you guys to know that we are an FDA cleared device. We were actually FDA cleared last August. We actually just launched in April though. So that's why if you haven't heard of us yet, we're new. And we are really trying to ensure out of the gates, we wanted to make sure that it all went really well before we go. And everything has been great. And we haven't had any issues with our tubes. They've spun down beautifully. They're very consistent. It's been really, really great. We're actually manufactured in California. So this isn't like we have taken another company's tube and put our name on it. This is actually a proprietary tube that we created, that was actually engineered by Jason Johnson, our founder and an engineer. So our tube size is a 22 ml. And the reason why he chose that size is because it gives you enough volume to do pretty much everything you want to do. Anything from hair restoration, if you need all 12 cc's of PRP, all the way down to just using the concentrate at the bottom of the tube. And so you get up to 4 cc's of really concentrated PRP at the bottom, which is, by the way, any PRP tube or PRF tube, it's the bottom where the good stuff is, right above.
And that's mostly going to be one treatment of, like, in one tube. What would that equate to?
So what do you mean by that?
Like, okay, so if you're doing hair restoration, you're just doing the one tube, right? You're just using that, whatever you can spin out of that one tube. When you're doing any filler, it's that. Okay.
Yes, even with the biofiller, you're getting up to 12 cc's. I saw this morning at my demo this morning, they made all of it and they injected, oh my goodness, they injected under eyes. They did temples, they did nasolabial folds, they did marionettes, they did hands, all with one tube. And this is all
from that one blood draw.
Yep, all from one blood draw and one tube of PRP. It was unbelievable.
And they're charging just that one PRP fee for all of that.
Well, no. So that's the thing. You would want, so that's what we can talk about pricing.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead. I'm getting excited.
No, and it's good because you're the business person, and that's exactly what we should be talking about. So it's all about the business in the end.
Yeah. I'm thinking, like, how can I make this as profitable? Because we've used other products in the past, and it doesn't give all of those things, right? So if Jen decided, hey, we want to do hair, we want to do hands, we want to do the neck, we want to do this, that, the temples, that would be multiple treatments, right? And there'll be multiple times that they would come in, or multiple draws for sure.
Yeah, if you're doing just the injectable, if you're doing the biomatrix gel, you can do that all in one treatment. And so the ways people tend to price it is if they're just doing like under eyes, for example, it's going to take less than 5 minutes to inject. Now it does take time to create the gel, which we'll talk about, but it's really about your time. And as an injector, that's super valuable. And so oftentimes they will charge, one price for a small area. And then if they're going to do a lot, then they'll charge a larger price. And so when they typically bring patients back 4 to 6 weeks later and inject them again. And so you've got to think about from a package perspective. I wouldn't charge the same level as like a syringe of filler every time. So if you would typically inject 2 or 3 syringes of filler, that's $1,800. You got to think that's a filler. This is not a filler. This is biostimulation. And so the goal is you're probably going to price it slightly less. What's that?
Longevity is the goal, right? It's not the overnight fix, right?
Exactly. Okay. For sure. This is what our PRP looks like when you spin it down. The biggest thing about us is the BioVortex gel. I know it's really pretty.
It's
actually
amazing.
My husband's PRP.
Jennifer, my Jennifer, have you ever seen when they've pulled the PRP off of someone at the clinic when you've done it, or when they've done it? It's amazing. This is what drew me to it, because when she showed me the tube, I was like, because it's pretty impressive. I wish you could just hold it right now, because it was pretty cool.
It is amazing. This is the part that actually I love, is that what makes our gels, our separator different, our tube different, is that our gel separator is really hard. And so you can shake the heck out of these tubes and those red blood cells aren't going anywhere. The only reason why this is a little orange is because this tube was about a week old. And so this was not coming straight out of a centrifuge, but you can, as you can see, you can really, and we actually have a challenge. We had a challenge going on with our customers to actually try to break the gel. And nobody was able to do it. So that's the really nice thing, is that once it's separated out, you've got really solid PRP, and this is a very consistent spin. Every single time I've spun down PRP, this is what it looks like. The only time it's ever a little different is that they have cholesterol and it's a little cloudier, but otherwise it is really, really great.
I love it.
I'm not going to get into that so much. Let's talk about the gel really quickly. So
yeah, this is what everybody really wants to know.
Everybody
right?
was talking about gel. And, quite frankly, when I started in this, I had no idea that Easy Gel was just a way to process. And then I started hearing about other companies that were talking about processing blood and heating up the PPP and things like that. And I was like, well, wait a minute. And then I started doing a deep dive in the literature and the studies. And there are some good studies about gel. Remember, we're not talking about Restylane versus Juvederm here. We're talking about a patient's own blood. And so it's really about how you process it. What's interesting is that you can get, I say up to 10 milliliters, you can actually get up to 12 to 13 milliliters depending on the blood draw. One of the biggest differences between processing an Illuminate tube versus an Easy Gel tube is it cuts out at least 15 minutes of time to make it. It takes a total processing time of about 30 minutes. You're also using an FDA cleared tube. Our tubes have been through the ringer. It took about 4 years to get them cleared by the FDA, but they're gamma sterilized. They're manufactured in an FDA cleared facility. So you know what you're getting is consistent. It's sterile, all of the things. So that's a really good thing. Another big important difference between using an Illuminate tube to process gel versus a PRF tube is that you are also separating out all of those red blood cells, which are acidic and painful, as well as can cause hemosiderin staining. And you're also separating out the white blood cells, which are inflammatory. So what I see with gel, with Illuminate, is I don't see swelling. And I actually was having a conversation with a customer that's an Easy Gel customer right now last night. And I was asking her a bunch of questions, and what really resonated with her was the less pain and definitely the less inflammation. She was like, oh my goodness, I tell my patients to expect 2 to 3 days of crazy inflammation after they're injected. With Illuminate, it just doesn't happen. And so as you can see here, I just wanted to give you guys a little picture of what it looks like. So this is what, after you've taken the platelet poor plasma off and heated it, this is what it looks like out of the heater after you've cooled it down. And then this is just a little video of, oops, sorry, let me turn that volume off. This was really beautiful PRP from Monday, actually. And so this was
crazy.
Isn't that gorgeous?
Jennifer, look at that. That's like insane. Have you seen the gel?
I mean, this was really pretty cool. And so, and as you can see, there's no red blood cells in there. That's a really good thing. And then this is her filling the syringes. And so what you do is you homogenize the PPP, the heated PPP, the platelet poor, with the rich PRP from the bottom of the tube, and then you inject it like a filler.
Well, let's talk about that timeline, right? From like with PRP and the gel, if you're looking at someone who was going to use filler, right? Like Lacey could easily just go pull out a syringe of filler, boom, she gets them in the thing, she does the thing, and she's off to the races, right? So if we're looking at revenue per hour, because again, remember, I'm the operations girl, I'm the money girl. If we're looking at that for this, what is the timeline from draw to like where they're ready to inject? And like, what would that process be? Because would they have to go and wait in another area? How long does that take?
It's a really great question. So this is how I typically talk about sort of patient flow and the execution within the office. So blood draw, You immediately put it in the centrifuge and get that going, because that's a 10-minute spin. And then if you're going to numb any area, then you come back and then you numb the patient. And a patient, if they're numbing, they're sitting there anyway for 25 or 30 minutes anyway. And then you can go do something. Like you can go do a Botox.
Or you can double book yourself with this.
100%. You can double book yourself, because you know that tube, it's unlike PRF. That tube can sit in the centrifuge for as long as you need it, because it's not going to start, because of the anticoagulant, it's not going to start activating and clotting. So it's going to stay in liquid form. So then you come back. The only time you have to time it is when it's in the heater. When you pull, so it takes no time to actually pull off the PPP. You cap it in these red with these red caps, and then you drop them in this heater at 90 degrees, and you set a timer, either your phone or your Apple Watch or whatever. That's the only time. It's a 10-minute heat, and you just, when that heater goes off or that timer goes off, that's the only time you need to be like, okay, I need to make sure I transfer it, because you don't want to overheat it. And then you put it in a cooling cup for about 5 minutes, but it can sit in that cooling cup. You can go do another Botox if you want, and it can sit in that cooling cup.
So your patient coordinator or Rhea, Rhea could do it, right? Jennifer, she could be the one doing that while Lacey's doing something else. Like, is that how you guys do it?
Yeah.
You're like when we did it that one time.
That's what I was thinking when she first started talking about it all. I was like, I really need to go check our kits and see if they're even
right.
expired.
But this is something that we can, they've probably expired. This is something, while she's talking, I was thinking about specific, because I'm always thinking about my practices and how it could benefit. Yeah. But this is where we could even add it to, not Lacey, but add it to our wellness side, to add on to her treatment stack of like adding into her care plans and treatment plans. And so that would lead me to the question for you, Jennifer, of training. What does that look like?
So training, so there's a couple of things. So because this is all, typically what we would do is when someone is purchased, there's some training videos available the actual process itself is not hard. There's just steps to it. And so there are some videos that are very easy to follow, and people have been able to pick it up and go with that. If that doesn't work, we're working right now with AAFE to develop some training videos and also a live training program. Okay. And so that's another option. The third option would be myself or one of my team coming in to walk the staff through how to do it.
Do they need to be an injectable or filler injector already in order to do this, or is this something that they could start with this and just get trained on this, like for my wellness facilities who maybe don't have an injector but that want to move into this? Would you recommend that first upper face, lower face training?
I would recommend for that, I would recommend PRP, like straight liquid PRP first.
Okay.
And the reason for that, and I'm always very, very, upfront with this, because this is a solid. You have to be super careful. You have to, everybody uses cannulas, so people have to be comfortable with the gel, not with PRP.
Right. I was going to say
liquid. Not if you cannulate a vessel with your PRP, you're just going to cause a bruise. That's it. But we're very, everyone who uses this, who's decided to use this, is very cautious about occlusions. And so that is an important part of this, is being very comfortable with cannulas. And so I always like to put that out there because it's an important piece of it for sure. So back to your question, this would not be for a new injector to do gel. It would be for, I would say, an experienced injector. But in terms of PRP, like doing PRP under the eyes, that's been done for years, and you get great results with it. And you can inject PRP, and then you can actually microneedle over it and then use it PRP on top as well at the same time. Some people do that and get phenomenal results. So this is just another way to process the blood, and some people love this, and some people don't. So it's all about what's going to work in the practice, quite frankly.
It's definitely popular. I mean, obviously we've been doing it for years in all of my clinics and practices, and I utilized it when I was a practitioner, right? But it's the technology where we are now compared to where we were before, and it was a harder sell then, and now it's almost like people are asking for it.
That's really where it's coming down to, is that Cosmo France has done a phenomenal job of marketing something that's not FDA cleared.
Yeah, right.
I am blown away.
It's like peptides, right?
Let me show you this really fast. So these are not the best photos, but these are the only ones I have thus far. This is actually a dermatology practice that brought us on about 2-3 months ago. And they did an event where I will tell you, so they did a virtual event and they had 50 people RSVP for the virtual event and had a phenomenal turnout. And this is one of their staff members that they did a live injection for. And this is before, and this is less than 24 hours after. So as you can see, there's no bruising, no swelling. They obviously use cannulas. That is honestly the biggest advantage is the lack of swelling. And a lot of people don't like doing HAs under the eyes. HAs under the eyes are tricky, as you guys know. And so this is an alternative. And you can't do biostimulators under the eyes either in terms of Radiesse or Sculptra. So
that's what's getting ready. If you could talk a little bit too about the difference between, Radiesse, Sculptra, and, PRP or in the gel, what that, the differences between those.
Yeah, for sure. So, when you're thinking about the sphincter muscles, so you think about anything around the mouth, you think about, luckily I've come from an injectable background, so I love this stuff. When you think about around the eyes, it's a sphincter muscle. You think about the mouth, it's a sphincter muscle. If you're using like a CAHA or PLLA particles, what you're concerned about is that that's going to bunch up and it's actually going to cause nodules and things like that. So that's why you don't inject around the mouth. It's the reason why you don't inject under the eyes. With this, it's kind of a softer. It's actually, it feels really good going in. It's very soft and it doesn't actually bunch up, and you don't have to worry about nodules because remember, it's going to start gradually dissolving over time.
You don't have the 5 and 5, right? The 5 and 5. That hurts so much.
What do you mean by that?
With Sculptra, you're massaging your face 5 times, for 5 minutes.
Oh my goodness! Yes.
Have you done it, Jennifer, Sculptra? Yeah, I hate that part. That's the worst part about it for me because it just hurts, like my tiny little face.
Sculptra is an amazing product. I love Sculptra. I love Radiesse. And I left MERS before they were hyperdiluting it. So there's been so many wonderful things that have come out of the literature in terms of those products. But you don't want to put them under the eyes and you don't want to put them around the mouth. Other places that people are using this is they're actually thinning out with more PRP. Making it a thinner product and actually doing sort of a serial puncture along the necklace lines. That's a really amazing one. There's just so many things that you can do with this. And remember, it's one tube that you can do all of this with. I just want to show you this last photo. This is actually Amy Lewis's hands. She is a dermatologist here in New York. This is actually I'm actually really impressed. This is the first time I had ever seen hands done. And I actually talked her into doing it. I was like, I'm dying to see this done in the hands. And so this is 1 month post. I was really impressed with this difference. We just did her second treatment a couple weeks ago. So I'm looking forward to seeing what it looks like after the second one. But I was like, wow, this is actually really good for.
She's doing one treatment every 3 months, every 4 weeks for 3 months, or is she doing 6?
No. You're only going to do 2 or 3 tops. You don't do, it's not like a regular PRP type of situation. So because once again, the goal is to keep that PRP in there longer so that you're stimulating longer. So we definitely had a much, much better result, I think, than if you were to just do a liquid PRP in her hands.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
So I'm going to stop sharing.
Yeah. So as you incorporate this into your care program, so just like at Belloderma, we have, a membership and then we have programs. We have programs for longevity and we have different types of programs at all. So if you, add this in to these programs, you've got hair restoration. Like you said, you've got your hands, you've got your neck, you've got just your regular filler, you've got your regular injectables. How do you price that? By area? Do you price it by treatment? You're here today, so it costs this much. I've seen it a lot of different ways. What do you think works best?
Well, I think hair restoration needs to be put in. I think that probably goes in its own bucket, because with hair restoration, oftentimes they're taking supplements too. You probably need to have them either on Nutrafol or Extresse or oral minoxidil, which I'm currently on, loving except for my furry face. But I love the Dermaflash. I have to say, the Dermaflash is amazing. But you want them on sort of a regimen. And so I would say for hair restoration, it depends on the market, obviously, but people are charging anywhere between, I would say, $800 and $1,200. And so, you think about it, our tubes are $115. And so the margins on that are
right.
So, and you typically, 90% of patients only need one tube. In terms of hair restoration. So, and oftentimes you'll even take off the platelet pore plasma on the top, and so you can get hyperconcentration for the scalp. And so that's still
inject all through the scalp.
Exactly. So I put that in its own bucket. Then it's about, okay, so what's interesting, because you get 12 cc's. Now I don't want to cause too much confusion here, but you're getting your liquid PRP out of there, but then you're also deciding, okay, if you're going to do gel, you can actually use part of the liquid for, like, if you're doing a microneedling in the same patient that day, you can actually pull off some of the rich PRP at the bottom for their microneedling treatment, but then you can also turn the rest of it and actually inject it like a filler. So with one tube, because that's the nice thing about having 12. And so that's what I think is truly the value of Illuminate, is you've got lots of volume that you can play with, and you can either use all 12 cc's, you can use some of it at the bottom that's super concentrated, or you can mix and match. And so there's a lot of flexibility that you get with this product, quite frankly. And and it's regeneration, you can regenerate a patient's, situation in lots of different ways. So between liquid, turning it into PRF, all the way to the gel.
Got it. Okay. Let's see, Jennifer, I think you are muted, but do we have any questions for her? I know that we're already over. Jennifer, let's see, I'll call you Belladerma Jennifer.
You can call me Jen.
I'll call you Jen. Yeah. So Jennifer, do you have any questions as we kind of wrap up here? I'm super excited about incorporating not just Illuminate, but in general PRP into all of my programs to accentuate results. When I look at longevity as being the goal for most people today, especially even you guys as you open your wellness wing.
No, I don't think I have any right now.
Yeah. As we kind of wrap up, Jen, is there anything you want to share with us too, not just about Illuminate, but PRP in general, that you haven't shared with us before we kind of close down? I'll give you an opportunity as well.
Yeah, sure. I think that, regenerative medicine, right, as we're hearing, it's the buzzword, right? And there's all of these different products out there. There's, we've got exosomes, we've got PDGF, we've got PDRN.
I was going to ask you to talk a little bit about those too, because obviously that's the big buzzword right now, right? And the controversy.
Yeah, there's a lot of controversy around some of that, for sure. What it comes down to is none of those things are cleared for or approved for injection. So, a lot of people are, playing with them topically, and, oftentimes it can be easier to pull an exosome off the shelf and use that topically. But when it comes down to injecting things, PRP, while there's nothing cleared for aesthetic use in terms of, we're all cleared for autologous use, meaning that we are cleared to inject back into a patient. And so that is a really important distinction in terms of injecting. And I would argue that you should be offering all of these things in your practice. Some patients might be happier using their own biology. So, and if you have someone that's comfortable with a blood draw, which a lot of people have, really good nurses, and some people have been NICU nurses and things like that can do a blood draw in a heartbeat, then some huge value to offering PRP even topically. So just know that there's really nothing else that's cleared for injection except for PRP. And I do think there's a lot of value still in considering us topically and having it in the offering for patients, because a lot of people love this idea of using their own body for things.
Yeah, and the ROI is there, right? Ultimately, that's the bottom line.
I think the ROI is definitely there. I mean, you can 100%. I mean, I don't know. I know some exosomes aren't so expensive, but I don't know how much PDRN is. I know PDGF is pretty expensive. I think you're going to spend less on a PRP tube, syringe, I believe. You know, that's where I don't like to say anything negative about any other procedure or company, because I think we're all you know, here for a reason, and we all add value to this market. And so I just think that we can't discount the value of PRP in a practice, quite frankly.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you so much. I'm so glad that you came on here to talk a little bit more about this. It's exciting. I know Jennifer is probably like, oh my gosh, PRP, we don't even do it, but I'm she tuned in. She's listening.
Thanks, Jennifer. Hopefully this was helpful.
Yeah, well, I know now exactly what we're gonna go. She's gonna go right now in that back room and look what tube she has for me, so that we can talk about it on our call this week.
Yeah.
So we can see, because it is an opportunity for additional revenue, but again, faster results, right? You know, a more opportunity for clients that maybe, you know, I know a ton of people, including myself, that, you know, I don't do a lot of filler. I'm not interested in a lot of filler. It's just something that if I can achieve results in a different way without it, then I try, right? I mean, obviously, I don't turn anything down, right? I'm like, if I need it, I need it. But this is one of my go-tos when it comes to this. So I'm excited to like get this out to everybody. So thank you so much for coming on and you know, talking to us a little bit more about this and about your product.
I appreciate it, Abby, for sure. And we'll get you in the chair.
Yeah,
we'll get you in the chair, maybe in Miami.
Especially my hands. Come on, and my neck.
I know. I can't wait to do my hands. Quite frankly, I am like, I want my hands,
my neck done. But also, if you have any resources or anything you'd like to send to Jennifer or any of my clients that we know that we could talk more, or if they're interested in, you know, booking a strategy session, just to even, you know, or demo or something, then just make sure you send that over to me and we'll talk then. I'll see you in Miami. See you, Jennifer.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye, Jennifer. Thanks so much. Take care.
Bye, ladies.